What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video.
I am back! What it do, baby?
It really has been a while, so sorry for the long wait, but sadly it's not a video about the Lexus. That car is still down and still needs the same thing that it needs for the last like 4 or 5 months. But as a lot of you guys do know, I did end up buying a 2025 Tacoma. This is the TRD off-road with the hybrid option. The reason I'm recording right now is because I'm installing this rough country leveling kit that they got. I think it's like $100 or something. And I already installed one side of them, which is the driver's side. Everything's done on here except the sway bar end link, but I still gotta do the other side, so I was just gonna hold off on putting that on until I get the other side done. So just wanted to give you guys a step-by-step on what you'll need and how long it'll approximately take if you know what you're doing. I haven't seen a lot of videos about it, but this is my chance to just help the community out a little bit. So not the safest option, but we got our jack stand safe set up, so let's get straight to it. So before we get to taking the wheel off and everything, these are all the tools that you will need before you can do this stuff. So starting off with the you will need a string strut compressor to be able to rotate the top hat, so the rough country part, the adapter spacer sits correctly and your coilover sits the right way as it should. You can rent one out from AutoZone for like $55 and then just return and get your money back. You need a bunch of different ratchets. You'll need a 1/2 inch, a 3/8, a torque bar to torque your stuff back to spec if you want to. You'll need a grinder to grind off the old pieces of there's a whole instruction list, but you'll need to grind off the factory. See these right here, the factory studs. You need to grind a tip of it off so it clears it, and technically you don't have to, but it's recommended. Next you'll need is 22 millimeter socket. You'll also need a 19 millimeter socket. Well, it's another 22. Where's my 24 at? You'll need a 24 millimeter socket. You'll need a 14 millimeter socket, and you'll need a 15 millimeter socket, and then 14 millimeter wrench. And if you don't have a 15 millimeter wrench, you can just grab a 5/8. It works perfectly fine. It's just basically the same shit. So as of that's all we need. Oh, and the impact is the main one, and a 21 to take the studs off. So now that we got all that stuff taken off, we can get to taking that side apart and getting this car done. But before, we'll take a little snack break because I am hungry. Let's get to it, you guys. Okay, so for step one, you will need to remove the lower control arm bolt, which runs through the coilover, and it goes to this side right here. So this side is a 22. Wait, they're both 22s, I think. Let me see here. Yeah, so they're both 22s. So you need two 22 millimeters. If you have two sockets, which I do, it's a lot easier when you have two sockets. So you would just unscrew it. I'm gonna use the impact. Unscrew both sides, and then pull the bolt out fully. So we took the bolt out with the nut, as you guys can see. Step two would be grabbing a 19 millimeter socket and taking out the sway bar end link. So here we go. I have it basically, I don't know, y'all can see it, I think. But it's really useful if you have an impact. If you don't, you can do the old school way, but impact just Okay, that's good. so we have that out. You guys can see the bolt is right here. So I would recommend just putting your bolts to the side where you won't lose them. Step 2 would be, there's two bolts that hold the knuckle, which would be this one right here and this one right here. They're both 222 millimeters. So I would recommend not recommend, you have to take both of them out so you can drop the lower control arm. So let's get to that. Okay, we have that out. So let me move my stuff out of the way. So step 3 would be like, if the control arm, usually when you're on a lift it's a lot easier, but you can move it out of the way like that, so you wouldn't have to disconnect the lower control arm bolts. Now you can loosen them tight, or loosen them a little bit to where the control arm can just swing out of the way, or you can just do what I do, is just forcefully yank it out. And then, I mean, putting it back would be a little bit harder. I might end up loosening them either way, but once you got that out of the way, there's 4 bolts up top right here. Or nuts. They're 14 millimeters. So if you have a ratchet or a wrench, you just take them off, and then you would have to pull the coilover out. So let's get to that. Okay, so I took the top nuts off. They're right there. Now let's see if we can somehow wiggle this thing out without having to loosen the lower control arm bolts a little bit. So let's see me struggle with this. Not struggle, no. Okay. All right. Never mind, I didn't struggle as much as I thought I would. So we got that on. Okay, I'm gonna show you a few tips with this rough country kit that I struggle with, because I was working on it yesterday, and let's say I didn't finish in time. Pause. So I had to put everything back together because I live in a little HOA neighborhood. So working past 10 on stuff is, I guess, not allowed. So, but it's the weekend now, so let's get to it. So we have the strut, right? You will need to trim. You see where this blank piece is right here, and right before the threads start, you need to cut all 4 of these off. Once you cut them off, you can put the adapter spacer on. So we're gonna cut these off real quick. Remember to always use safety protection for your eyes, because like the one Russian guy said, safety is my #1 priority. So
welcome back to my laboratory, where safety is #1 priority.
So on the beat, bitch.
I already did this part, but as you guys can see, the spacer will come with hardware, a nut and a bolt. You would shove the bolt in here, and I hammer that shit in until it sits right, flush all around, and this is the new hardware for the top of it. So one little thing I learned is, when doing this, the rough country logo on the spacer or adapter, whatever you want to call it at this point, you want to have it lined up with the Toyota sign, right? So right now, let's see, let's fit this on real quick. See, like right now, rough country Toyota lines up, right? But the bolts, let me show you guys. It should be easier just if I just show you guys. Okay, so once you get your string strut compressors on, and you can rotate it like this. Well, it doesn't have to be like this wiggly, but yeah. Grab this. There we go. Okay. So now that we can rotate it, mounted it here. Okay, so it's gonna sit like this, right? You want it to line up. There's two holes to sit like this. One right here, one right here. So you want this to sit straight and this, so I think like this would be good. So you see where the RC, well, these sit in between these two top bolts right here sit right in between the Toyota sign. That's like the best way to eye measure it. Here, like right between the Toyota sign. That's like my best way to measure it. So y'all can like do marks and stuff, but I'm just gonna eyeball this shit. So let me untie this. Yeah, I got it pretty lined up. I tied the freaking spacer on. So now we're gonna slide this hole back in. Okay, so I loosened both of the little controlling bolts to now we like very not like super loose, but like where they're still pretty tight on there, but this thing can just flop around a little bit. So now we got more room right here to slide up the coilover. So let's do that right now. Okay, hopefully my storage sign doesn't come on this time, but I ended up loosening this bolt right here for the lower control arm. There's two of them. There's one right on this side right here as well. It's 24 mil. You just loosen up. It's still tight on there, but it's just enough to where this thing can rotate up and down. Pause. But yeah, so got that done. And well, this is what I meant by these two top bolts, or yeah, bolts lining up the Toyota sign. See how they're right in between the Toyota, or right in between the Toyota. That's how you should, if you want to eyeball it correctly, that's how you should eyeball it. And this piece right here still sits directly flush like that. So now we're just gonna put it back together and we should be good. So let's get back to putting it together.
Underground Starboy в машине надо мной люк. Я читал West Coast, хотя мой жанр был всегда плак. Но мне пачка денег, она не только в моих текстах. Как сказал Алексей, теперь все на своих местах. Мои парни дуют, как и дули в людных местах. У меня что-то со стулом будет сесть, не могу не дристать. Я плохо учился, но рэп это был мой стартап. И каждый 23-м я в курсе, кто был next up. Если нормативы крысить, я хотел бы не сдать. Вообще ни разу не ссать. Кажется так никак, неповторимый белый, если что, убью двойника. Время летит превратить.
So this is how the truck ends up sitting after the leveling kit. You can tell it's a major difference. It's the front is still a little bit lower than the rear, by I think about half an inch, but there's way more clearance room. I ended up cutting the video short because my phone ended up almost dying, and I just had my dad help me put the sway bar end links on. I went and got an alignment, and that's how it looks right now. So right now I'm at the shop getting my new wheels and tires. That'll be on a separate video. So thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video for the wheels and tires.